All right, so are you ready to dive into a world of shadows and suspense today?
Always.
Awesome, because we're going behind the scenes of Basic Instinct.
Okay.
And not the movie itself, but the actual screenplay that started it all.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I'm excited.
me too. And to help us navigate this deep dive,
Yeah.
we have an expert in all things film noir and neo-noir.
That's me.
So welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So glad to have you here.
Yeah, this is going to be fun.
Yeah, so to kick things off, for our listeners who might not be familiar with these terms,
Right.
could you break down what exactly we mean when we talk about neo-noir?
Yeah, so basically, neo-noir takes those classic film noir elements, like the shadowy visuals, the morally ambiguous characters,
Yeah.
that heavy dose of cynicism,
Mm-hmm.
and gives them a modern twist.
Okay.
So it's kind of like taking the old and making it new again.
I like that.
Yeah. And Basic Instinct really embodies this with its sleek, stylish aesthetic and its exploration of those complex themes like sexuality and power.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
how does the screenplay itself set up this neo-noir world?
Well, right from the start, it throws you into this brutal murder.
Okay.
We have retired rock star Johnny Boz found dead in his bed.
Oh,
Multiple stab wounds from an ice pick.
oof, that's brutal.
Yeah, and to make it even creepier,
Yeah.
his hands are tied with a white silk scarf.
Oh, okay.
Which, if you remember, is a detail that mirrors a scene straight out of a novel written by his girlfriend, Catherine Trammell.
Talk about a red flag.
Right.
So let's talk about Catherine Trammell.
Oh, yeah, she's a fascinating character.
She's a successful novelist, right?
Yes.
Wealthy, beautiful, and seems completely unfazed by the investigation.
It's almost like she's playing a game with the detective.
Totally. And the
Yeah.
screenplay really uses her interrogation scene to drive this home.
Right.
It's not just like a regular question and answer session.
No, it's a total battle of wits,
Yeah.
where Catherine uses her intelligence
Mhm.
and her sexuality to manipulate the detectives.
Oh,
And she even manages to pass a polygraph test.
come on.
Think about that. Can someone really be that good at deception? Or is there something else going on with Catherine?
Well, and then another murder happens, right? And this one mirrors another scene from one of her books.
Exactly. This time it's her former college counselor.
So the lines between fiction and reality are starting to get really blurry.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, is she drawing inspiration from real life for her novels, or is this all just very elaborate planning?
Right, because she is a crime novelist.
So
It fits the MO.
Right.
Yeah. And then we have Nick Curran,
Oh, yeah, our troubled detective.
yes, who's assigned to the case, and he's got his own issues.
Oh, he's got baggage for sure.
Yeah, he's got a history of questionable shootings, a struggle with alcohol,
Right.
and a super complicated relationship with the police psychologist, Beth Gardner.
It's like he's a walking time bomb just waiting to explode.
Yeah, he's got a lot going on.
And the screenplay does this really interesting thing where it kind of puts his internal struggles right up against the dark world of Catherine's novels.
Oh, interesting. So they're like reflections of each other.
In a way, yeah, he's drawn to her,
Uh-huh.
fascinated by her,
Okay.
but also deeply suspicious of her. It's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, and their whole relationship is just like watching a car crash in slow motion.
You said it.
You know it's going to be bad, but you just can't look away.
It's like a train wreck.
Total train wreck.
Yeah, and their dynamic really plays into this classic neo-noir trope,
Okay.
the femme fatale.
Oh, yeah, she's a classic example.
She's beautiful, alluring, and incredibly dangerous.
Nah.
And she uses her charm and her intellect to manipulate Nick,
Okay.
playing on his weaknesses, exploiting his desires.
She's got him wrapped around her finger.
She knows what she's doing.
Yeah, and she doesn't shy away from getting her hands dirty either.
Oh, no, she's not afraid to play it dirty.
So the screenplay reveals that she got a hold of his confidential psychiatric file
Wow, yeah, that's a bold move.
and uses that information to push his buttons.
Talk about a power move.
It's a huge power move.
It shows you just how far she's willing to go to control the situation.
Right, she's not just reacting to the investigation, she's trying to shape it.
Exactly, and the way the screenplay weaves that manipulation into their personal relationship
Yeah.
makes it so much more disturbing.
Right. It's like this messed up mix of love, lust, and power dynamics.
That's really unsettling.
It's super unsettling. Okay, so we've got this tangled web of murder manipulation.
Right.
A detective who is clearly in over his head.
Yeah.
Where does this screenplay take us next?
Well, you're going to have to wait until part 2 to find out.
Oh, come on.
I know, I'm sorry, but trust me, it's worth the wait.
All right, fine. We'll leave our listeners in suspense.
A little cliffhanger never hurt anyone.
That's true. That's true. But for now, we're going to take a quick break and be back soon with more of our deep dive into Basic Instinct.
Okay, so remember where we left off?
Yeah, tangled web of murder manipulation.
Yeah. A detective who's maybe losing it a little bit.
Yeah, and just when you think you've got things figured out, the screenplay throws in this curveball.
Okay.
With Hazel Dobkins.
Hazel Dobkins, okay.
She seems like this harmless old lady.
Right.
A friend of Catherine's.
Okay.
But then, bam, we find out she murdered her entire family years ago.
Whoa, hold on. What? That's dark.
It's pretty messed up, right?
Yeah, what's the point of Hazel in the story? I mean, it feels like she's more than just a random character.
Oh, she's definitely not random. She becomes this twisted mentor figure to Catherine.
Interesting.
The screenplay kind of hints at this connection between their past traumas and their capacity for violence.
Okay.
It's like they understand each other in this dark way.
Makes you wonder what Catherine's past was like.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Yeah.
But then things get even more complicated.
Oh, yeah.
Lieutenant Nelson, the internal affairs officer who we know sold Nick's file to Catherine,
right,
turns up dead shot in the head.
Another twist.
So who do we suspect now? Is it the Ice Queen novelist or the detective who's maybe cracking under pressure?
Well, this is where the screenplay is so good at playing with our expectations.
Okay.
It makes you wonder if Catherine's the mastermind behind it all or if she's being used too.
Right.
And then we have Roxy, Catherine's lover.
Oh, yeah, Roxy.
Who we find out has this fiery personality and a history of violence herself.
Okay, so are you saying Roxy could be involved in all this?
Well, the screenplay is very clever about planting these seeds of doubt.
Okay.
Remember that car chase where Roxy dies?
Yeah.
Nick becomes the prime suspect in her death?
Oh, right.
It's like the whole investigation flips on its head.
It's like we're constantly being misled.
Totally.
So how does the screenplay use dialogue to create all this uncertainty?
It's all about the subtext.
Subtext, what do you mean by that?
Well, like the conversations between Nick and Catherine.
Yeah.
On the surface, it's all flirtation,
right.
seduction, even.
Yeah.
But under the surface, there's this power struggle, this constant manipulation.
Okay, can you give us an example of that?
Sure. Remember that scene where Nick confronts Catherine about having his file?
Yeah.
She doesn't deny it. She just deflects.
Right.
And suggests that he actually wanted her to have it.
Oh, wow.
It's classic psychological manipulation.
Like their words are weapons.
Exactly. They're constantly trying to undermine each other.
And there's Roxy.
Right. We start off seeing her as Catherine's devoted partner.
Yeah.
But then as the story goes on, we learn about her jealousy, her violent past.
Right.
There's even a suggestion that she might have killed her own brother.
Whoa. Okay, so how does the screenplay resolve all these questions?
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't...
What do you mean it just leaves us hanging?
Pretty much we're left with this final encounter between Nick and Catherine.
Okay.
And the question of her guilt, their relationship, it's all up in the air.
So after all this buildup, we end with a big question mark.
Exactly. And that's the brilliance of it.
Really?
It doesn't give us easy answers or a neatly wrapped up ending.
Okay.
It forces us to accept the fact that sometimes there are no simple explanations.
So what's the point of all this ambiguity?
I think it's asking us to look inward.
What do you mean?
To examine our own perceptions.
Okay.
Our own biases.
Yeah.
Are we too quick to judge based on appearances?
Interesting.
Can we ever really know another person's motives or their true nature?
So it's like the screenplay is holding up a mirror.
In a way, yeah.
Forcing us to confront our own fascination with the dark side of humanity.
And it also makes us think about the power of storytelling itself.
Okay.
How fiction can bleed into reality.
Right.
Catherine's novels aren't just stories, they're windows into her mind.
It's like her writing becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly. So how should we view Catherine?
Yeah, is she a victim of a villain or something else entirely? It's hard to say, right?
Yeah, she's such a puzzle. She keeps you guessing right to the very end.
Right. Is she a cold, calculated killer? Or is it something more complicated?
The screenplay never really tells us for sure.
Okay.
It gives us these pieces of her past, her relationships, her words.
Yeah.
But it's up to us to decide what it all means.
And I think that's what makes her so interesting.
Oh, absolutely.
You're both repulsed by what she dares.
Right.
But then you're also drawn to her.
Totally.
To her intelligence, her confidence.
Yeah, you can't help but be fascinated by her.
Yeah, it's like we become part of the mystery.
Right.
Trying to analyze her every move.
Exactly.
Searching for clues.
And I think that's exactly what the writer Joe Esterhaus wanted.
Yeah.
To create a character that gets under your skin.
Oh, okay.
Makes you think.
Yeah.
Stays with you even after the story's over.
So for him, the lack of a clear ending
Right.
is the real ending.
Exactly. He's forcing us to confront this idea
Uh-huh.
that sometimes there aren't easy answers.
Right.
No clear-cut good guys or bad guys.
It's all shades of gray. It's interesting how this screenplay, written back in the 90s,
Yeah.
still feels so relevant today.
Oh, for sure.
We're still dealing with those same issues.
Totally truth manipulation.
Yeah.
The dark side of human nature, it's all still there.
And especially those themes of power and sexuality,
Right.
which are so central to the story.
They're timeless themes.
Yeah, and the way the screenplay uses Catherine's sexuality as both a weapon and a shield.
It's a powerful thing.
It really is, yeah. It makes you think about
Yeah.
how women navigate power.
Especially in a world dominated by men.
Right, she's using the male gaze to her advantage.
Exactly.
She knows the rules of the game,
Yeah.
but she's not afraid to break them.
And this all goes back to the idea of the unreliable narrator,
Okay.
which is so important in neo-noir.
Uh-huh.
You can't trust what you see or hear because everyone's manipulating everyone else,
Yeah.
including the audience.
So we're left questioning everything.
Exactly, even our own perceptions.
So after all this time spent with the Basic Instinct screenplay,
Yeah.
what's the biggest takeaway for you?
What makes it stand out as a piece of writing?
Yeah, beyond the more sensational aspect.
Well, for me, it's how it mixes psychological suspense with social commentary.
Okay.
It's not just a thriller. It's a story that makes you think about relationships,
Yeah.
about the masks we wear.
The secrets we keep.
Exactly.
And it leaves us with that question.
Right.
Are we seeing the real Catherine Tramell?
Or just the version she wants us to see.
And if we don't even know that,
Yeah.
how can we judge her?
That's the brilliance of it.
Yeah, Basic Instinct is a screenplay that sticks with you.
It really does.
It makes you question everything you thought you knew.
About desire, deception, and the darkness that's inside all of us.
Well, that was quite a journey.
It was, wasn't it?
It was a wild ride.
Yeah, a deep dive into the dark heart of Basic Instinct.
Exactly. And for all of you listening out there, we hope you enjoyed this deep dive.
And that maybe you learned something new.
About screenwriting, about neo-noir.
And maybe even about yourselves.
So until next time, keep exploring those shadows.
And remember, nothing is ever quite as it seems as it's